Just tell me to move.
Coach not here this afternoon?
No, I don't. No. Well, at least that's what he told me.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Me?
What's wrong with me? I thought you liked to cover your butt.
Leman took a shower.
Yes.
Oh no, let's not push it.
Every time you get up to
You betcha. Turned all day, sir. Turned all day.
Yeah.
So would that
I miss home. This is Ronnie Dixon. I left the transcript with Mr. Cooper for you to pick up. The amount is 126. The first day, I didn't know that the clerk would not be with us, and we had this evacuation and all this. I wanted us to want to get that transcript, so if you would please stop by the 3664 and get it from the triplet. Just give me a call back in your spare time. Voicemail message. My number is 213-90-1846, and I'm just hoping you pick up the transcript.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is for King.
Well, they did.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm not. No, let him talk tomorrow. Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Oh, well. He can't see anything.
Huh?
No, I forgot to turn my mic on.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, man.
Oh, did you see that? Your turn. Your turn. First half, second half. Oh, please. Oh, wait. You don't want to do it.
So they explained all that to me.
Dear Scott, I don't know what
So that was
Yeah, lights up.
I know it's hard for me. You're not retiring. I can't take my money. You know, we see some people that want to do that. I don't plan on it.
too bad. There's a little one that they have
That, no. I'm talking about, I'm thinking about, not a kid.
I heard rumor that they might Well, your sources are probably better than mine.
No. Kevin Orr is going to give us $100 stipend for electricity. It's going to happen. Somebody call that number. We lose power. I don't want to sleep.
That's what I mean.
Like one or the other.
All right, we are back on the record on case 1357921, People of the State of Michigan versus Robert Michael Bashara. Before we begin, I actually started yesterday, and my understanding is that a little bit of it appears to be some nonverbal communication from the defendant to the witness. I said it appears to be. All right? I witnessed a little bit of it myself yesterday, the hand over the heart, patting the heart type of deal. And I want to caution Mr. Bashara and the defense table to caution your client, admonish your client, that there will be no such thing tolerated in this court. Of course, if I find it necessary, I will have Mr. Bashara removed from the courtroom and we can continue this exam without his presence.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Go ahead. I do have a skin rash on my chest. I'm just letting you know. Yes, sir.
Okay. No non-verbal communication with the witness, this witness or any witness.
Yes,
Okay?
sir. Yes, sir.
We're going to proceed with cross-exam.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gillette.
Hi.
Just a few questions for you. You indicated on direct that you entered into a master and slave relationship with Mr. Bashara.
Yes.
And that was completely consensual, correct?
Yes.
That was the relationship that you sought out on alt.com, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that when you first saw Mr. Bashara's profile, it said that he was a widower.
Correct.
And he represented to you that he was a widower.
Yes.
And that was in 2008, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At some point you said that you confronted him because you began to suspect that that was not true.
Correct.
When did that occur?
I believe in October of 2008.
Okay. How long had you known Mr. Bashara when you made that confrontation?
About 3 weeks, maybe?
Okay. So fairly early on, you are suspecting that things are not true.
Correct.
Okay. And after you confronted him, he indicated to you that he was separated.
Yes.
And despite that, you continued the relationship.
That was, we actually broke up over that.
Okay, and you got back together,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Now, after you confronted him about that, you indicated that he gave you a sort of timeline as to when he would be getting divorced.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Yes.
And he indicated to you that he would get divorced after his daughter graduated from high school,
Correct.
and that would be Jessica Bashara.
Yes.
Do you know when Jessica Bashara graduated from high
June
school?
2010.
Okay. And June 2010 came and passed, and no divorce came, correct?
Correct.
And you stayed in the relationship.
Yes.
And you didn't realize that you were being strung along by Mr. Bashara?
Yes, I did.
And as the relationship continued, you moved into different properties of Mr. Bashara?
With him? No.
You moved into his properties?
I rented an apartment from him. Just one, not plural.
And then you lived in a house as
Correct.
well?
I moved out of his apartment and moved into another apartment that did not belong to him.
You indicated on direct that at various times during the relationship, you would send him emails trying to end the relationship.
Correct.
And as a result of those emails, you would get emails in return from Mr. Bashara.
Yes.
And those emails would have some flowery words asking you to stay,
Yes.
correct? And after each one of those emails, you resumed your relationship with Mr. Bashara.
Yeah, either after the email or after talking, yeah.
It was fairly easy for Mr. Bashara to get you to continue in this relationship, correct?
Yes, probably.
Now, during the time you're in the relationship with Mr. Bashara, you introduced him to your children
Yes.
and your family,
Yes.
friends,
Yes.
coworkers. Did you ever meet Mr. Bashara's children?
I think once I passed them in a restaurant and he introduced me to them.
Did he introduce you as his girlfriend?
No, as his tenant. It was at a time I was his tenant.
Were you also his girlfriend at the time?
Yes.
And he introduced you as his tenant?
Correct.
Did you ever meet any other members of his family? Sister, mother, cousin?
I met his mother once briefly at a charity function, and he introduced me as a tenant.
Were
And
you
then-
his girlfriend at that time?
Yes. The next time I met his mother, he brought her to my house.
And when was that?
I believe it was March 1st, 2012.
You also were aware that Mr. Bashara did not tell some of his friends about his relationship with you.
Yes.
So you were aware that you were hidden from
Correct.
certain people in his
Yes,
life.
I did.
You indicated that after a breakup in 2011, Mr. Bashara told you that his divorce was final.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I believe you testified to this, I missed it. What was the date of that when he told you that his divorce was final?
I think it was in the summer of 2011. I know it was after the fact.
He told you that he had already been divorced
Correct.
for some time
Yeah.
when he told you. And you believe that.
Yeah, I did.
And you stayed in the relationship, obviously.
Yes, I did.
And after that point in time, the two of you began shopping for houses together.
Correct.
You indicated that it was his idea to do that.
Yes, he was pretty adamant. Yeah.
You didn't mention that to him first?
All along our relationship, we had talked about living together, and the understanding was always that we would someday live together. And yeah.
So do you recall who it was after Mr. Bashara told you his divorce was final, suggested that you go start actually looking for houses together?
I'm pretty sure it was him.
Okay. But it was you that found the real estate agent, correct?
I don't recall. I don't remember how we found her, actually.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you're not very well versed in the process of buying a house, mortgages, short sales,
Yes.
etc.? Is it fair to say that you were relying on the things that Mr. Bashara was telling you during this process of buying a home?
Yes.
And when was it that you two began looking at houses?
I believe it was at first we looked casually, probably in July of 2011, off and on.
So you began in July of 2011?
Yes.
And you indicated that there was a home on Bishop
Yes.
that you were interested in?
Yes.
And you don't know if a bid was put on that home or not?
I don't recall. I know we had an inspection done.
And were you involved in the process of getting the inspection, or were you listening to what Mr. Bashara was telling you was happening?
I was at the house during the inspection. We both were.
Okay. But you didn't call for the inspection? You weren't the person that put that in motion?
No.
There were other houses that you looked at as well, correct?
Correct.
There was a house on Pemberton?
Yes.
And you liked that house on Pemberton, correct?
Yes.
The house on Kensington, Mr. Bashara liked that house better than you did, correct?
Initially, he liked it better than I did. Yes.
And that was next door to one of his friends?
Correct.
You indicated that on January 20th, 2012, you sent an email to Mr. Bashara.
Yes.
And in that email, you told him that you were demanding to see the paperwork from the divorce.
Correct.
And you indicated to him that if he did not show you the paperwork from the divorce, that you would stop everything to do with moving into the house on Kensington.
Correct.
You told him that you weren't willing to take that step with him unless you saw that paperwork, correct? And in response to that, you did not get any response at all?
No.
You didn't even get an acknowledgement of that?
I don't know. He might have sent me an email. I don't have record of it.
You don't remember any response?
Yeah. Mm-mm. No, I don't.
And then on January 21st, 2012, you went to look for paint for the house.
Yes.
So the day after you told him that you weren't going to take any further action toward moving into this house, you went to look at paint for that house, correct?
Yes.
And during the process of trying to buy a house, there were lots of delays, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And something would happen and a bid would fall through, fair to say?
Yes.
And things would be delayed.
Correct.
and you would stay in the relationship, correct?
Yes.
And with this house in particular on Kensington, the date of closing kept being moved, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you stayed in the relationship.
Yes.
Now, you indicated that on the 24th, you had lunch with Mr. Bashara, January 24th.
Yes.
And later in the evening, you spoke with him on the phone.
Yes, I did.
Did he call you or did you call him?
He called me.
And do you recall anything significant about the phone number he called you from?
No, I don't.
Do you recall what phone number he called you from?
No.
But there was nothing unusual about that telephone call as far as the number.
Not the number. Yeah.
And in the phone call, and I'm speaking of the evening phone call of the 24th, you indicated that Mr. Bashara told you that his wife was missing,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And he sounded upset in the phone call, correct?
He sounded more irritated.
Okay. And in that phone call, he didn't say anything to you at all about telling anyone not to call him
No.
or to be careful what number to call him on.
No.
And he didn't try to tell you to keep the phone lines clean on the 24th that evening.
No.
You indicated that he did say something like that at the 1 a.m. phone call on the 25th. Is that correct?
I don't recall if it was that one, but documentation shows that it was, so.
Okay.
I remember being very upset by that phone call, so I didn't remember things very clearly.
Okay. And the 1 a.m. phone call, do you recall him telling you that the police had just left his house?
Yes.
Okay. So the 1 a.m. phone call came after Mr. Bashara had talked to the police about his wife's disappearance.
Correct.
And that was the first time he said anything about keeping the phone lines clean.
Yes.
And you spoke with him several times on the 24th.
Yes.
And none of that was in a secretive manner, fair to
No.
say?
No, yeah, it wasn't.
You indicated that on the 25th, at some point, Mr. Bashara started using his mother's telephone
Yes.
to contact you.
Yes, he did.
So at some point during the day, was he using on the 20th? You indicated that you never heard Mr. Bashara use the name Joseph Gens,
Correct.
but you also indicated that he did speak of some crazy guy who was harassing him.
And I don't remember when that was, if in the timeline, when he started talking about that. It wasn't before the events of the 24th.
Okay. Did it have any significance to you at the time that he said it?
No.
Okay. You indicated that he said that along with other speculation about how his wife could have disappeared
Correct.
or been killed.
Yes.
Did it become significant to you after you saw Mr. Gens on TV?
Objection is relevant whether it became significant to her or not. Why is it relevant whether it became significant to her?
Your Honor, there's some issue about whether or not it was in her statement that she made to the police prior to Mr. Gens being on TV. If it was not significant to her before Mr. Gens was on TV, then that's the reason why it wouldn't be in her
I guess
statement.
that's the objection, though. Why do we care if it's significant to her? her,
Whether or not she would have told the police, Judge.
whether or not what.
She would have told the police in her statement about it.
Why don't you rephrase the question?
All right, Judge. I'll
think
just
I know
move
what
on,
you did.
Judge. I'll move on. You indicated that you gave more than one statement to the police.
Yes.
Do you recall the date of your first statement to the police?
It was the Saturday, I believe it was the 28th of January.
And how did you come into contact with the police on that day?
I went to the police station.
Did you do that on your own?
Yes.
And do you recall if you signed the statement that you gave on the 28th?
Yes, I did, I believe.
Do you recall writing something out in your own handwriting?
Yes, a short statement. Yeah.
And then you also later went and typed out something at home,
Yes.
correct? And that was January 30th.
I think that's when I gave it to them, along with the house papers.
Okay. You indicated that you also gave a statement on February 6th.
Yes.
And was that written out in your own handwriting?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
Do you recall if you signed that statement?
I believe I did.
Were there any other statements that you gave to the police that you can recall?
No.
At some point, you retained an attorney,
Yes.
and after retaining the attorney, you got a personal protection order against Mr. Bashara?
Correct.
And was that at the advice of your lawyer?
Objection, Your Honor. Ultimately, hearsay officers matter, so that
I'm not asking what her lawyer told her. I'm just asking if she took action at his
Based on
advice.
overruled.
Was that at the advice of your lawyer?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Can you redirect?
yes. You're claiming that you got the PPO under the advice of your lawyer, is that correct?
Yes.
Didn't you send an instant message to Mr. Bashara telling him that unless he left you alone, you were going to get a PPO?
Yes.
So you told that to Mr. Bashara, correct?
Yes.
And you made the decision, correct?
Oh, yeah. Ultimately, I made the decision to do it or not.
So let's be clear here. Your lawyer did not twist your arm and make you get a PPO.
No.
You wanted to get a PPO.
Yes.
Now, in any of the statements that you gave, the one on January 30th, the one on January 28th, or the ones on February 6th, 2012, do you ever mention Mr. Bashara saying anything about somebody harassing him?
I don't recall. I may have in the February time.
Okay, could you look at?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it in there?
No.
And that's certainly, the one on February 6th was certainly after Joe Genson came out. and
Yes.
Nothing further this way, Sharon.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step back.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Patrick Muscat on behalf of the people.
Good afternoon.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I have copies for the court and defense counsel of the exhibits I'll be using with the next couple witnesses. People call Melinda Jackson of the Michigan State Police.
Who's your name and spelling of the court?
Melinda, M-E-L-I-N-D-A, Jackson, J-A-C-K-S-O-N.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat.
Discuss this with defense counsel by stipulation,
Okay.
and I'll list the exhibits. Right now, 31 through 34, which are Michigan State Police reports. 35 through 51, which are photographs. 52 and 53, which are sketches, and 91 through 94, which are photographs. Is that correct, counsel?
You're moving here? No police reports?
I'm sorry, Judge. Michigan State Police lab reports.
Right, we discussed it.
Going into Mrs. Jackson's background, counsel has agreed to stipulate that she's an expert witness for purposes of this exam in the field of forensic biology and bodily fluid identification. Is that correct, counsel?
That is correct, Your Honor.
The court makes a finding as such.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, notwithstanding the stipulation, could you just give us brief background about who you are and where you work and how long you've worked there?
Yes, my name is Melinda Jackson. I'm a forensic scientist with the Michigan State Police, assigned to the Sterling Heights Laboratory, and I've been there 27 years.
Sorry, Judge. Your current day-to-day activities at the Michigan State Police include what?
I'm responsible for the analysis of evidence that comes into the laboratory, and
The DNA process referred to often as the biology stage.
yes, there is.
And I guess in comparison to an assembly line, is that at the beginning or the end of the DNA process?
That would be at the beginning. The items of evidence come into the laboratory, or we collect them at the crime scene. Then, as biologists, we identify the biological fluids or the potential for DNA analysis, evaluate those samples, and then forward them on to the DNA unit in Northville.
So a different individual would actually do the DNA examination, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you also, as you mentioned, in crime scenes, do you also process crime scenes?
Yes, we do.
Drawing your attention to February 8th of 2012, pursuant to a search warrant, did you respond to 552 Middlesex in the city of Grosse Pointe?
Yes, I did.
Grosse Pointe Park, excuse me, for the record.
Yes, I did.
Ma'am, at the time you arrived,
Where?
who was also with you, if anybody, from the Michigan State Police?
I was joined by coworkers, Eric Cervinac, who's in the trace unit, and Kimberly Zabrowski, who's in the drug unit.
People's Exhibit 35, I'm going to have to ask you to turn, I'm sorry for the setup today. Is that the house, the home where you executed the search warrant on that date and time?
Yes, it is.
All right. 36, please. And the garage specifically?
Yes, that's correct.
When you did your search of that location, the garage was in a shut position, is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Now, I'm going to move through this rather quickly, but I assume you surveyed different portions of the home, and then you also did some work in the garage, is that correct?
We primarily focused on the garage. I did go into one of the bathrooms to collect a hairbrush for hair samples.
And that's for what's called a known sample, is that correct?
That's correct.
And just briefly explain for the record what a known sample is.
A known sample is going to be usually pulled hairs from an individual. That would be a known reference sample. However, in this case, we did not have known pulled hairs, so I used a hairbrush that was determined to be of a single origin and possibly from the victim.
Okay. Now, other than that, were you involved in any other samples being collected from the victim or her remains for DNA analysis?
No, I was not.
All right. Now I'm going to focus on the garage area of that location. When you searched that garage, was there a vehicle in the garage?
No, there was not.
Right. Now, is it fair to say that there were numerous sketches that were drawn of that garage?
Yes, there were.
First, I'm going to put on People's Exhibit 53, which is a sketch drawn by your partner, one of your partners that day. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Drawing the court's attention to People's Exhibit 53. Is that a sketch that was drawn by one of your partners that day?
Yes, it is.
Did you also draw a sketch of the location?
Yes, I drew a sketch at a later date and did it to scale.
And that's Exhibit 52 for the record. Is that the sketch that you drew?
Yes, it is.
All right, ma'am, and I'm just going to go through the sketch a little bit right now for everybody. This area here on the right that I'm pointing to with the cursor on 52, those are the stairs into the home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Down at the bottom, that's the garage door. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there are some markings inside the sketch in red. The item C, what is that?
That was a section in the garage that contained a stain, that chemiluminescence with a chemical that is present to detect the presence of blood.
Okay, and we'll get to that in one moment. Drawing your attention to the bottom of this People's Exhibit 52, the garage door, I'm going to bring up a photograph of that. All right, this is People's Exhibit 37 for the record. Is this the inside of the garage door?
Yes, that's correct.
And there are two placards there marked A and B. Can you tell me what those placards, why they're there and what they represent?
Those placards represent blood stains that were apparent to the naked eye that I observed and tested with chemicals to determine that was possibly blood present, and collected those samples.
All right, I'm going to zoom in and show you placard A, which is People's Exhibit 38. What is that substance that appears to be streaked on the garage, inside of the garage door?
That is a reddish-brown stain that tested positive for the possible presence of blood.
A reddish-brown stain that tested positive for the possible presence of blood, is that correct?
Correct.
39, please. All right, and is that the item placard B and that streak on the garage wall, or garage door, excuse me? What is that?
That is also a sample that I observed and tested positive for the possible presence of blood on the inside of the garage door.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to show you people's 47. Oh, no, how about people's 40? Thank you. That is an item, placard C. Does that correspond to the C that we saw in the sketch a minute ago?
Yes, it does.
And is there something circled on there?
Yes, after the entire garage was processed, I went ahead and used a chemical that is used to locate stains that may have been washed or are not visible to the naked eye. When I applied the stain to the garage floor, this area fluoresced. Then I went ahead and did some presumptive testing, and it indicated the possible presence of blood in this area on the garage floor.
All right, now actually we have a picture of that chemical, don't we?
Yes, we do.
All right, for the record, that's a photograph of a bottle of luminol. Is it correct that the chemicals that you used are designed to attach to the iron that's found in blood and create some kind of glow when the lights are shut off?
In the case of luminol, yes.
All right. People's Exhibit 42. Judge, can I ask that we, President, can we dim the lights for this, please?
I was actually thinking that.
As long as we know ahead of time.
But after not having lights yesterday, I should be grateful for the lighting we do have. We can dim the lights.
Thank you. Just for a couple of exhibits.
A little bit more Cardinal.
There we go. And, okay, so now we have a pretty good view of 42 here. That blue glow, is that the process of chemiluminescence? Is that it?
That's correct.
How do you spell that?
CHEMILUMINESCE.
Thank you.
We're good. We can have the lights back up. Thank you.
Turn back up, Cardinal.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. 46, please. And that's just come over an overhead view of that area, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So after the chemical indicated the possible presence of blood, what did you do with that sample and with the other A and B samples?
I collected the samples, I took them back to the laboratory and prepared them for sending to DNA.
Okay. And it's been omitted already, but for the record, the work that you did in this case is reflected in MSP report record number 1. Is that
That's correct.
And that's referred to as the biology report, Your Honor. That's People's Exhibit 31 for the record.
Okay.
All right, now, just all right. For the record, I'm looking at a portion of one of the reports that's been admitted, which is, I believe this is from record 5, Your Honor, which is Exhibit 33. I just want to go over these codes that are used here. RBS A, B, and C. Do those correspond to what we've just seen in the photographs in the sketch?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And you said you forward that on for analysis, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
While you were doing biology in this case, did you also process some fingernail clippings?
Yes, I did.
And the fingernail clippings, when you processed the fingernail clippings, did you observe anything, I guess? Or were there any reactions to any of the processes that you applied?
Yes, I did. These were the fingernail clippings that I received from the victim, or labeled allegedly from the victim. Mm-hmm. When I processed the nails, there was one nail that was present from the left-hand clippings that appeared to have reddish-brown stains on it. I went ahead and did a chemical test, and it indicated that blood was present on the nail.
And when you receive the clippings, they come with the actual nail clippers as well, is that correct?
Yes, they did.
One moment, please, Your Honor. So what did you do with the nail clippings? Well, first of all, what is the reference code used for those nail clippings in your report?
If I may refer to my report, please.
I believe the third page down in the middle is where I'm looking.
They were noted as 12B and 12A.
12A for the right hand and 12B for the left hand.
That's correct.
So, did you forward on all the clippings, including the ones with the possible blood, for DNA analysis?
Actually, what I did was I separated the one nail that contained the possible blood. Then I went and did another sampling of the other nails that did not contain blood for the possible presence of foreign DNA from the victim.
I see. And those are those fair to refer to those as swabs?
Correct. For cellular material, yes.
Okay. Did you also analyze a pair of boots? So 91 for the record, please. Actually, let's do 93 and 94 first. 93, you put it over to the side. 94. Did you process those boots for biology?
Yes, I did.
And give one moment, he's going to put them side by side for us. Is that correct? And did you, all right, clear that out, please. 91 and 92, did you also process the bottom of those boots?
Yes, I did.
Did you note anything from the work that you did with the boots in your report?
Yes, originally I looked at the boots for the possible presence of blood through a stereoscope. I did not detect the presence of blood. However, I did swab the bottom areas of the boots for the possible presence of cellular material. And I also swabbed the shoelaces and tongues of the boots for the purposes of wearer ID to determine who possibly wore the boots, since they were not taken off an individual.
Okay. So that's where you're swabbing the inside of the boot to try to get the person that's actually wearing the boots, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And how were those reflected in your report? What item numbers were used?
If I could, again, refer to my report.
Anytime.
The work boots were item 1A. And then those samples were labeled as, let's see here. I'm not exactly seeing where I have it on here. The swabs were item 1A, and that was for the cellular transfer as well as the wearer ID.
Oh, no, it's not on that list. Okay. All right. Just going over my notes, I think that's all the questions I have. Nothing further of this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examine?
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may step down.
Thank you.
Would you please send in this one? And then, may the witness be excused, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ma'am, could you please step forward, give your name and spelling for the gentleman to see the picture? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Please have a seat.
Good afternoon.
You ready?
Good afternoon.
Your Honor, for the record, counsel has agreed to stipulate that this witness is an expert in the field of forensic biology and DNA analysis.
We have, Your Honor,
All right.
for exam purposes only.
The court will receive that stipulation.
Ms. Young, notwithstanding that stipulation, if you could state your name for the record and give us your background real briefly and your current employment.
My name is Andrea Young. I work for the Michigan State Police at the Northville Crime Lab in the biology unit. I have a bachelor's in biology from George Fox University, which is in Newburgh, Oregon. I have a master's in forensic science with a concentration in forensic biology from Michigan State University, and I have been with the Northville Crime Lab in the biology unit since January of 2005.
So is it fair to say that you do DNA analysis
Yes.
and that you also process crime scenes?
Yes.
So you're the real CSI, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. All right. We'll draw your attention to a record number, a case that you worked on where you did DNA analysis on certain items. Specifically, exhibit, for the record, Exhibit 32, which is Record 4. Do you have a copy of that?
I do.
And is that a DNA report that you authored?
Yes.
That report has 11 pages plus another approximately 10 pages of allele charts. Is that correct? Well, the exhibit does. I should state that for the record.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to draw your attention to some evidence that you analyzed here. First of all, if you could tell us, for the record, real briefly, what DNA analysis is looking for.
Sure. So DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and that is found in cells in the body.
Do you mind spelling that for us, please?
Sure. DEOXYRIBONUCLEIC, and then acid.
Thank you very much.
So that's found in cells in the body. And DNA's function is like that of a blueprint. So it codes for certain physical characteristics. An example of that would be eye color or height. But the DNA that I look at doesn't code for anything that would be visible to the naked eye. So DNA is inherited. You get half from your mom and half from your dad. And over 99% of all DNA is the same amongst individuals, but in that less than 1% there are differences. And I look at areas that are specifically known to differ amongst individuals, and I can do that for evidence samples, and then I can compare those same areas to known individuals, DNA profiles from known individuals. And then if there's a match, I can do statistical analysis that gives weight to that match.
Drawing your attention to page 9 of your report, and I'm going to move quickly here. First of all, you had a known sample from the victim, Jane Bashara, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was a blood extract known sample.
Yes.
All right. You have known samples also from Robert Bashara
Yes.
and Joseph Getz.
Yes.
You compared the DNA profiles in those samples, I would assume, to the evidentiary samples that you received. Is that correct?
Yes.
Drawing your attention to paragraph 17 on page 9, we're going to refer to an item that's listed as RBS-C, which is blood from the garage floor. Correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us what the results were of your DNA analysis of item C?
The DNA types obtained from that item indicate at least 3 donors are associated with the sample. The major DNA types match Jane Bashara. Robert Bashara cannot be excluded as being a possible donor to the DNA from that item. And Joseph Getz is excluded as being a donor to the DNA from that item.
What does it mean that Robert Bashara cannot be excluded as a donor to that item?
It means that DNA types are present that could be attributable to him in the mixture.
I'm sorry, where was this found at again?
This was a blood sample from the garage floor.
Thank you.
Could you, for the record, show item 40? Exhibit 40. For the record, this was the last witness referred to, Your Honor. This is the same item, the swab from Exhibit C, or placard C, I guess, for lack of a better term. You referred to a mixture, is that correct?
Yes.
So the swab from that placard item contained a mixture of DNA that matched the victim, and the defendant cannot be excluded.
Yes.
Backing up a second just to the general process of DNA analysis. When you talk about the 13 alleles that are used in DNA analysis, could you tell the court what that is, what the alleles are?
Well, basically an allele is just a DNA type at a particular location. And we actually use 16 locations now. We used to use 13. So what that means is I'm looking at 16 different locations.
No. So, your DNA profile or my DNA profile would have a series of numbers at that location, at those locations?
Yes.
And if you, so in a known sample, at 13 different locations, my DNA profile is going to have a certain set of numbers at each location.
Yes.
And then you would compare that to an unknown sample to see if those numbers also appear.
Correct.
When you have a mixture, you have numbers from multiple DNA profiles, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a additional DNA testing process which allows you to attempt to isolate the profiles found in a mixture?
Yes.
And what is that process referred to, or what is that testing process called?
There's a type of testing called Y-STR testing, and only males have the Y chromosome. So Y-STR testing will only look at male-specific DNA.
Okay. And is that something that's also done in a sexual assault kit type case where there may be a large amount of DNA from a female and a small amount from a potential male contributor?
Yes, it is used frequently in those situations.
So you're going to look at that DNA, you're going to isolate on the male DNA in that mixture, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you do that in this case?
Yes.
If I could draw your attention to the screen behind you, this is page 20 of Exhibit 32, Judge. Am I correctly showing you the YSTR results for Mr. Bashara and item C?
Yes.
All right. So what we have here, and visually you can mash these numbers up, can't you?
Yes.
So on the left here, where I'm pointing to, is the YSTR DNA profile of Mr. Bashara, and on the right, it's the YSTR evidence found on that floor in that garage from that swab.
Correct.
Thank you. You can clear that up. All right. Then moving on with your report. I kind of went out of order here. I'm going to go back to, I believe it's paragraph 5 on page 3. Would this be the results of the fingernail clippings?
Yes.
All right. What were the results? Okay, is paragraph 5 in reference to the nails from the right hand?
Yes.
What were the results of the DNA analysis of the nails from the right hand?
No DNA foreign to Jane Bashara was observed from the clipped nails from the right hand.
Okay, paragraph 6 of page 4. Were those the results of the DNA of the clippings from the left hand?
Yes.
What were the results?
This sample is also a mixture. The DNA types associated with the swab of clip nails from the left hand are consistent with being a mixture of DNA types from Jane Bashara and at least one additional donor. The deduced foreign DNA types match Joseph Gens.
So the clippings of the left nail contained a mixture of DNA, with the majority portion was the victim, Jane Bashara's, correct?
I don't know that I would say it was the majority, but she was a significant contributor.
Thank you. And the foreign DNA that was detected matches the DNA profile of Joseph Gens.
Yes.
Thank you. Drawing your attention to paragraph 7. This is more analysis from the left nail?
Yes.
Is that correct? What was specifically was analyzed that's reflected on paragraph 7?
A swab, blood from the left nail.
So paragraph 6 were swabs from the clip nails?
Correct.
And paragraph 7 is potential blood from the clip nails?
Correct.
Again, the left hand?
Yes.
And what were the results?
Jane Bashara cannot be excluded as being a donor to the DNA from that evidence, and Joseph Gens cannot be excluded as being a donor to the DNA from that evidence.
Okay. Did you also analyze swabs taken from a pair of boots?
Yes.
All right. Page 2, paragraph 1. This is the results of the bottom of the left boot swab. Is that correct?
Yes.
What were the results?
The major DNA types match Joseph Gens. The limited results from the minor donors, back up. At least 3 donors are associated with a sample. The major types match Joseph Gens. The limited results from the minor donors are not sufficient for conclusive association purposes. However, Jane Bashara and Robert Bashara are both excluded from being donors to that item.
Do you have any personal knowledge as to when these boots were collected?
No, I do not.
Paragraph number 2, the bottom of the right swabs. Bottom of the right boot swabs, excuse me.
At least 3 donors are associated with this sample. The major DNA types match Joseph Gens. Jane Bashara cannot be excluded as being a possible donor to the DNA from the bottom of the right boots, and Robert Bashara is excluded as being a donor to the DNA from the right boots.
What does that mean, again, that Ms. Bashara cannot be excluded? So there's a mixture of DNA on the bottom of that boot.
Yes.
And Ms. Bashara could have provided that DNA.
Could be one of the contributors, yes.
Paragraph 3, that's the swabs referred to as the wearer ID. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what were the results?
So that is also a mixture of at least 2 donors. The major DNA types match Joseph Gens, and the limited results from the minor donor are not sufficient for conclusive association purposes.
One moment. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examine?
You have nothing, Judge.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Is the witness be excused?
She may.
Thank you, Judge. May we have one brief recess to get our next witness together, Judge?
Sure. We'll take a 5 to 10 minute recess.
Thank you, sir.
Turn your phones in. There was no electronic meeting. Strict. We got there at 8:30. Saturday was a 10 o'clock break. There's a noon break. Other than that, you have to go back and you're out of luck. Couldn't get back and forth. Lock it. We're not going to do that. This is the form. The whole court. That was the time most difficult trial, I think. This federal court smells must be different.
Are you guys ready? Yeah, we're ready.
Judge, ready to bring on Mr. Bashara?
You got the numbers?
Okay, we are back on the record on People versus Robert Michael Bashara. People ready for their next witness?
Yes. Janet Leman.
Please have a seat on the chair to the left. Put the microphone up close to you. If I represent you. You may begin when you're ready.
Ma'am, could you state your name, please?
Janet Leman.
And Ms. Leman, do you currently reside in the state of Michigan?
No, I do not.
You reside in Oregon?
Oregon.
At some point in time in November of 2011, were you on an alternative website?
Yes, I was.
And did you come into contact with somebody by the name of Master?
Yes, I did.
Did you, and what name did Master? Well, what did he tell you ultimately his purpose was?
That he was looking for two women to share a house with him, potentially at some point in the future.
Now, once you started on this website, did you start either speaking with him or corresponding with him, or both?
Corresponding via email at first.
Okay. And did you have a certain screen name when you first started?
Yes, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay. Did Mr. Bashara ask you to change your screen name?
Yes.
What did he ask you to change your screen name to?
I think it was master slave for him, but I'm fuzzy.
Okay, master slave for him. Could it have been master slave for you?
Yes.
And did he tell you he had done something online with regard to other men who may be trying to contact you?
Yes, he sent an email to one and told them that I was off limits.
And did he tell them to keep their hands off his property?
Yes, he did.
And he told the other men that?
Yes.
Now, what did he tell you about his marital status?
He was divorced and had been for many years.
Did he tell you anything about his living situation?
He told me that the attorneys advised him to stay in the house with his ex-wife until the divorce was final because of the children and the property was settled.
And did he tell you how long he had been with Rachel?
4 years approximately.
Did he tell you anything about the breakdown in the relationship with his wife?
He told me that she was uninterested in sex and they grew apart, and it was amicable.
Did he tell you how long it had been since he had had relations with his wife?
7 years.
And did he tell you any type of precipitating incident that ended the sexual relationship between them?
Yes, he told me they were having oral sex. He ejaculated in her mouth. She found it disgusting and he hadn't touched her since.
Did he explain, did the subject of emasculation come up between you and Rachel Gillette?
Rachel told me that Jane emasculated Bob.
I had laid the foundation with her to impeach her. I asked her specifically, did she tell?
She's not the one being impeached.
It's the extrinsic impeachment of Rachel Gillette. Thank you. Did Rachel Gillette indicate to you that Bob Bashara said he felt emasculated by Jane?
Yes.
And when Mr. Bashara referred to Jane Bashara, did he refer to her as his wife or did he refer to her by some other label?
Usually just her. He never used her name, and it was usually with scorn. It was her or the ex-wife.
Now, sometime in November, did he send you a package?
Yes, he did.
And what did this package include?
Actually, it was December, I believe.
Okay, December. Tell me about that.
It was a Christmas gift. It contained a gift card to Olive Garden, I believe. A dirty t-shirt that he'd slept in for about a week so I could feel him.
Did he tell you that's why he sent you a t-shirt?
Yes, he wanted me to sleep in it.
Did he tell you it had his scent on it?
Yes.
And what did he want you to do with that t-shirt?
He wanted me to sleep in it.
And why did he want you to sleep in it?
So I could feel him.
And what else did he send you?
He sent me a small neck chain to be worn around my wrist that signified that he owned me.
Did he send you any letters?
Yeah, there were 2 letters involved.
Your Honor, I've had discussion with the defense counsel. They agreed to stipulate to the introduction of people 17, 18, and 19.
That's correct,
Yes.
sir.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. 117, 118, and 119 into evidence.
Proceed.
Can you see what's on the screen behind you?
Yes.
Can you read that, or would you like a hard copy?
I'm going to try to read it.
Okay. Is that, first of all, is that the letter that Mr. Bashara sent to you?
Yes, it is.
Could you read what it says?
Slave J, it is my hope and wish you have a wonderful Christmas. This gift is a strand of leather. It's a symbol of my ownership of you. You are to wear it wrapped around your left wrist. You are not to wear it around your neck until I am there to place it there. Something calling you as mine. But know you are mine, slave, and serve me wonderfully, Master Bob.
Does the phrase that you couldn't read look like place it there around your neck?
Yes.
There was also another letter in that same package sent to you.
Yes.
Okay. I direct you to Exhibit 118.
My slave J, this is my shirt that I have worn next to my body for 3 days. It is my scent and is sent to you to sleep in and keep near you. When I come to see you, I will replace it with another one. You are mine, and this is something, so you will feel me. I remain Master Bob.
Your master.
Oh, your master and man.
And I'm showing you exhibit number 19. Is that letter collar he sent you?
No, that's one he brought with him when he met me and put on my neck.
Okay, so he did bring that to you.
Yes, he did.
Okay, well, we'll back up. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, he's indicating that he's sending you these things. He's getting to know you. Does he plan a trip out to see you?
Yes.
Okay. And when was that trip supposed to take place?
It was supposed to take place January 18th and 19th.
And what happened with that?
He, well, the first week of January I hid from him for 3 days because I was getting cold feet, and when I got home he told me he was coming the following weekend. And when I said, I'm sorry, I have to work, he said, you want to meet me, don't you? And he said he couldn't come on the 18th because his sister Laura was flying in from LA and he had family obligations.
Now, while you were speaking to Mr. Bashara online, did you ever come and start talking to him on the telephone?
Yes.
And either online or on the telephone, did the subject matter of breath play come up?
Yes.
And could you describe for us what is breath play?
Breath play is when the dominant person wraps their hands around your neck. It's autoerotic asphyxiation, I think it's called, and they choke you. And usually not, I mean, it's an agreed upon thing.
Okay, now let me just ask you, did Mr. Bashara talk to you about doing breath play or autoerotic asphyxiation with Rachel Gillette?
Yes, he tells me he tucks her in almost every night and does breath play with her, and she loves it.
And did he send you or did you have an IM conversation where the subject matter of him tucking Rachel Gillette in with breath play?
Yes.
I'm directing you to exhibit number 114, and I'm going to ask you to do the highlighted portions.
I'm sorry, who's this one?
Exhibit number 114 is an instant message chat between Mr. Bashara, or as it says on here, Big Bob, and Janet Leman. I'm handing you an instant message chat that's dated
Okay.
December 12th to December 1st, 2011 at 10:45 p.m. Could you read the highlights?
I said, very sweet of Bella, is she sleeping? And then he said, she's out like a light. I did some breath play. I can choke her just enough to make her woozy, and having my large hand on her neck excites her. I will do the same to you. Then a little further down, I said, breath play, sir, I'm almost a breath play virgin. And then the next highlighted part said,
I don't know what relevance this has. It's talking about breath play, an email with breath play. I don't know what relevance that has to whatever we're doing here.
As it relates to the cause of death of being asphyxiation, and Mr. Bashara having obviously a deep interest in asphyxiation, I think is quite relevant.
Judge, there is no evidence whatsoever, Mr. Bashara. The witness that was originally we thought might be here, Mr. Dents, has confessed that he killed Jane Bashara. We did hear the manner was asphyxiation,
Correct.
but there's no evidence that Mr. Bashara was present at the time that the murder occurred.
Well, people are still putting in their proofs, perhaps that's yet to come out on them.
Objection.
But if there is some so-called excitement that the defendant allegedly has in breath play or
That's just
choking
really
or
a stretch
asphyxiation,
from what we're
Sorry.
talking about. From here to the murder of someone is, and I think the testimony that we heard from the ME was that the asphyxiation was
and
from
I'm
her
not sure
being
if it's
crushed.
more than a coincidence, or if it's not more than a coincidence that the victim in question here died of asphyxiation, and that there's this talk of this alternative lifestyle and choking or breath play as it's called, that there is some relevance. So your objection is noted for the record. Without giving a little more leeway. You may proceed, Ms. Lindsay.
Pardon me?
You can finish reading that.
Okay, so then the last sentence says, well, you are a virgin in a lot of ways. I will open to you a lot of all I am, and you will be like a kid in a candy shop.
Now, as it relates to Mr. Bashara and his future plans with you, did he eventually indicate what he wanted to do as far as your role in his life in terms of a house?
Yes,
Okay. Tell me about, well, let me back up. During the course of your conversations with Mr. Bashara, does he share with you information about buying a house?
yes,
Where does he say he was buying the house?
on Kensington,
Did he say who he was going to have or who he wanted to live in the house with him?
Rachel,
And did he say who else potentially that he might want to come live in that house?
possibly me.
And what did he say the timetable was for when you were supposed to move to the house on Kensington?
May of 2012.
May of 2012. And did you question him about how he was going to manage to have two women living in the house with him?
Yes, I did.
What was it that he said?
He said he's tired of living a fake life or something like that, and he wants to be true to himself and live his lifestyle.
Now, he's coming out to, or does he, do you talk about that in December before he comes out to visit you?
I believe so.
I'm directing everybody to Exhibit 116. That's stipulated to the induction. Okay. I'm handing you a copy of 116, and could you read the highlighted portion out loud?
Big Bob, between you and Bella, I know I will be taking care of you both.
Okay, that's the Big Bob is the person who's...
That's Robert. That's what his email address was. Between you and Bella, I know that I will be taking care of you. Both will have your time with me, and both together and separately. And I said, I understand, sir. And then he said, good girl. Now I am whipped, and I'm glad we have made this point of service clear. I know you will have crystal clear view when you come to me. Then he said, I'm glad you are mine. I'm in serious like with you. LOL. And I said, thank you, sir. And then I said, how so, sir? You've not met me? And he said, be well and know that I am pleased. And I said, thank you, sir. And then he said, we'll know several things. I'm a very good judge of character, and two, unless you are not being real, which I know you are not, your slavehood and service to me is both real and valued, plus I think you're cute as well. And then down at the bottom, he says, sleep well with thoughts of your master. And I said, thank you, sir.
Now, in December, does he tell you about a situation at home and his plans for being at home with his wife and children
For the holidays?
as the holidays of 2011 were on you?
Yes. He told me that he told them it's his last holidays with them, and that he's moving on and they all have to deal with it.
So in December of 2011, Mr. Bashara tells you, he tells his wife and children that this is our last holiday together. This is my last holiday with you. I'm moving on. You'll just have to deal with it.
Yes.
Did he say how his family reacted to that?
He said that his daughter in particular was very upset and that his wife wasn't very happy about it either. And not much was mentioned about Rob.
Now, does he make, we talked previously about him making plans to come out to see you in Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And does he actually come in January?
Yes, he does.
Does he come for a weekend visit?
Yes, he does.
What weekend does he come for?
January, Thursday the 10th, 11th-ish. I don't know the dates, but...
But does he send you an email, does he instant message you talking about his arrival or him coming to see you?
I think it was something about soon you will fill me.
Okay. 16, 116.
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
I'm directing you to a instant message chat that he sent to you on January 10th, year 2012 at 9:04 a.m. What does he indicate to you at that point in time?
Hello, SJ. Soon you will feel my strength and passion.
Does he come out to see you?
Yes, he does.
And when he came out to see you, do you engage in intimate contact?
Yes.
Was there, first of all, was he able to perform in a normal fashion?
No.
Why not?
I don't know how to word this delicately, but it doesn't work.
Okay. It doesn't work, and when you say it doesn't work, are you talking about his private parts?
Yes, it's private parts.
And did you have a discussion with him about why his private parts, or why he thought his private parts didn't work?
Well, after the fact, because I was surprised, and he said he thinks it has to do with his weight.
And we've already talked about the subject of breath play. While he came to see you in Oregon in January of 2012, did he engage in breath play?
Yes, he did.
Was it something that he discussed with you before he did it to you?
No.
Tell me about that.
He was standing behind me. He wrapped his hands around my neck, and I passed out cold.
And did you consent to that?
No, not really.
And when you came to, what was the discussion?
Well, little girl, you should have told me that you were getting bad. I would have stopped. I could hurt you.
Now, during that time, did you note his phone usage when he was with you in January of 2012?
Yes.
Tell me about his phone usage.
He was on the phone quite a bit. He would disappear in my bedroom and use his phone. We went out to lunch and he disappeared to the bathroom for 25 or 30 minutes. And, unless you're having a terrible GI issue, one would guess that you're on the telephone.
Now, did he tell you did he tell you at any point in time that he talked to Miss Gillette while he was away?
Yes, he told me he talked to her several times.
Did you overhear a conversation that was unusual?
Yes.
Could you tell me about that?
I was making breakfast. He was playing with my dog, and he called someone and said, I want this done. I want it done this weekend. What the hell is wrong with you? Something to that effect. He was angry.
Did he use profanity when he said that?
Yeah, he said, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I told you to get this job done.
Yes, I want it done. I want it done before I get home.
He said, I want this job done. I want it done before I get home.
Mm-hmm.
And he appeared angry to you, you said?
Yeah, it's the most agitated I've ever seen him. He's always very level.
He was the most agitated you had ever seen him. After this phone conversation took place and he got off the phone, did you ask him who he was talking to?
Yes, he said a handyman. I made an assumption that the guy put the toilet in backwards. But he just very calmly went on as if nothing had ever happened.
But he told you he was talking to a handyman.
Yes, he did.
And he was yelling and angry.
Yes.
Now, he did leave after the weekend trip.
Yes.
And after he left, was it your plan to see him again?
No.
You were not going to see him again after he left?
No.
And, did he leave anything behind at your home?
He left a collar behind. I assumed it was an oversight.
Okay. I'm showing you exhibit. Council stipulates the introduction of exhibit number 120.
That's true, Judge. Let's see.
Is that the underwear he left in your house?
Oh. That would be it.
Now, did he continue to call and communicate with you after he had left?
Yes.
Do you recall any type of unusual conversation you had with him after he left?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
On approximately January 18th or 19th, he called me one morning, made idle chit-chat, hung up, immediately called back and asked me if I knew anybody that would rough somebody up for money.
And what story did he tell about that?
Did I tell or did he?
What story did he tell?
He said that there was a handyman that he used to rent to, and he's tried to help the guy out. And the guy's trying to extort money out of him, and he wants to rough him up.
And did he say, had you ever had a conversation where he indicated he wanted to rough somebody up before that?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Rachel Gillette was about to get fired. She was having a performance review.
Is that what he told you?
Yes,
Okay.
and Rachel too told me that she was having a hard time at work. And Bob was so mad at her boss, he wanted to have somebody beat her up. I thought that was odd.
But that's what he said out of his own mouth.
Yeah.
Early hours of January 25th, year 2012, do you receive some type of phone communication or some type of communication from Mr. Bashara
On the 25th?
in the morning hours?
Yes.
Okay. And was that from a number that you normally recognize from him?
No, it's a number I did not recognize.
And what was the message?
MB here, family emergency, stop all communication immediately.
And did you receive any emails or any contact from Rachel Gillette that night?
Yes,
And what was
that morning.
That morning, what contact did you receive from her?
I'm not sure if he told you, but his wife is missing and we're both very worried and we think it's terrible and that something bad has happened to her.
Did Rachel also ask you not to contact?
Yes, she said please don't contact him because the police are looking at him and he's trying to clear his phone records.
Now, on January 26th, the day after Mrs. Bashara's body is found, do you have phone contact with Mr. Bashara?
Yes, he called me on the 26th.
And what was it he said to you at this point in time?
He said, I guess you heard about my wife, and I said I did. Oh my God, how are you? And he said, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I said, how are the children? And he said, they're fine. And I said, how can they be fine? And
Did he give you some instructions?
he said not to call him and to lay low, and he's trying to keep his phone records clean because the police are looking at him. And
Did he tell you what to tell anybody if they called and asked what was the nature
said
of
we're
the
just friends.
So he told you to tell anybody if they called, the nature of your relationship was just a friendship.
Correct.
Did he ask you to lie for him?
In that sense, yes.
Now, I would assume you started following the story after this.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I would assume that you heard something in the news media about Joseph Gentz.
Yes.
After you heard it in the news media about Joseph Gens, did you talk to Mr. Bashara about Joseph Gens?
Yes.
And what was it? Well, let me back up a little bit. Prior to the murder, before the murder, had you ever heard him mention the name Joseph Gens?
Never.
After the murder and after the story comes out about Joseph Gens, does Mr. Bashara start making comments about him?
Yes.
What was he said? What
That
did
he
say?
was a guy that he kind of helped out, and he did some handyman work, and now the guy is trying to extort money out of him, and he thinks that he killed his wife.
Now, the phone contact you're having with Mr. Bashara after the murder, is that phone contact from the phone that you normally receive contact from him from?
No.
Tell me about that.
There's a multiple numbers. One of them he told me was his mother's number, that he had traded his mom phones, and that he was using her phone so that the police wouldn't track his calls.
Okay. And so he started using multiple numbers to contact you.
Correct, yes.
Did he ever make a request of you in early February of 2012 as it relates to Rachel Gillette?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
He asked me, he called me, he mentioned it once before in a minor way, but he called me and he was agitated, and he told me to buy her a plane ticket and fly her out to Oregon and hide her at my dad's cattle ranch in the middle of nowhere.
And did he tell you why he wanted you to hide her?
Well, I said, you know, she's not talking to the press. She doesn't want to come out. I've already invited her if she needs to escape. And he goes, no, not from the press, from the courts. Are you with me on this?
He said, don't hide her from the press, hide her from the courts.
From the courts. Are you with me?
And during this same conversation, when he started talking about hiding Rachel from the courts, did he say anything about anybody turning state's evidence against him?
He said they were going to turn state's evidence against him. I don't know who they is, but...
And it was during that conversation that he asked you to hide Rachel from the courts?
Yes, it was.
Did you decline?
Absolutely.
Now, did Mr. Bashara say what did he ask you, or strike that. Did Mr. Bashara say what was going to happen with you, he, and Rachel after everything blew over?
Oh, yes, we were just going to continue on the way we were.
At some point in time, after all this, did you want Mr. Bashara to stop contacting you?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell him to stop contacting
Yes.
you? Did he continue to contact you?
Yes.
From other phone numbers?
Yes.
What did you have to do to get to Mr. Bashara to stop contacting you?
I changed my phone number, I blocked him off my email, and I had my attorney, Mr. Draper, send him a letter that I wish no further contact with him.
You can just have a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, this is witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Good afternoon, Ms. Leman.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Leman, you seem to have a pretty good recollection of certain events, but I noticed that there is something in your lap. Are those the exhibits the prosecutor handed you? Okay. Now, did you ever write out a report of what you knew with respect to this investigation?
Can you be more specific?
Well, did you ever write out a report with what you knew?
I don't appreciate your tone
Well,
to
I
begin
appreciate
with.
that. Can you answer the question?
Well, I wrote out a timeline for the Grosse Pointe Police.
In your handwriting?
No, I wrote, I typed it and emailed it to them.
Okay. And when was that, ma'am?
Well, they and I spoke on February 6th, so it would have been right after that.
Did you ever write out a version of the events that you've testified about today?
A version of what?
Of anything that you have testified to as you sit here today?
Well, I've written stuff for the police
That's
that
what I'm
you all
asking.
have, yes.
Okay, so you've given at least one written statement?
I sent a timeline to Grosse Pointe Police that was, I don't think was a statement, and then they brought me here and deposed me, so everything else was under deposition.
That's what I'm trying to get at, ma'am. So at some point, you were placed under oath.
Yes.
And you gave testimony.
Yes.
And the only thing you have provided them in writing then is this timeline that you told us about,
To the
correct?
best of my ability.
I'm sorry. That's all you recall doing?
That's all I recall
Okay,
doing.
nothing in writing that you recall?
Not that I recall.
Now, you indicated at some point that you told Mr. Bashara to stop having contact with you, correct?
Yes.
What do you recall when that was, approximately, month, date
February
of,
2012.
and can you recall beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month?
It was when I came back from being deposed, so 19th-ish.
So when you got back, you told him no further contact, correct?
Yes.
Now, you indicated that it was on January 18th or 19th while he was in, I'm sorry, what city was that, ma'am? Where you were at when he came to visit you?
Bend.
Okay. During his visit with you, you indicated it was either the 18th or 19th, but you heard him get upset at somebody, correct?
I'm gonna object, that's not her testimony. She said the 18th or the 19th is when he called and asked for roughing up. She never said the 18th or the 19th is when she heard him make the phone call.
Well, she overheard a phone call.
What,
We'll straighten that out. Thank you, Judge. You talked about overhearing a phone call about roughing, or no, I'm sorry, that was when, wait, let me get this, all right, two different calls.
thank you.
At some point, you said you overheard a phone call where Mr. Bashara was very upset, correct?
There were two.
One of them, though, had to do with getting the job done, correct?
Yes.
And then you said he later told you that it was a handyman
Yes.
that he was mad at,
Yes.
that hadn't finished whatever they were doing, correct?
Yes.
Now, you also indicate at some time he relays to you the story of somebody, a handyman of some sort that was harassing him, correct?
Yes.
You recall when that was?
The 18th or 19th of January.
And at that time he tells you that somebody that was doing work for him, meaning Mr. Bashara, was also harassing him for money, correct?
Yes.
You specifically overheard that conversation.
Yes.
Now,
The objection overheard that conversation. She said that conversation, that's a mischaracterization. She said he overheard that directly. There would be no conversation to overhear.
well, let me see, Judge. May I? You want to say something? Go ahead.
Well, when he called me that day and said that was happening and he was wondering if I knew anybody to rough him up, I advised him to go to the police and make a report.
Okay, wait a minute. Now, he asked, that's the same day he asked you if you knew anybody that could rough him up? Is that what?
You're confusing me.
I'm a little confused as well.
No, you're not.
You said, ma'am, that you... What's it? When you said there was another call about he asked if you knew somebody that could rough somebody up,
Yes, he did ask me that.
and let's see if we can get this straight. Was this a phone call to you?
He called me in the morning on January 18th or
Okay.
19th.
And he had already indicated to you, though, that he was having a problem with somebody back in Michigan, correct?
Yes,
And if I have this correctly, you're in Oregon.
correct.
And he's asking you if you know somebody that can rough.
That's what I thought.
Very strange.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't know anybody, by the way, did you?
I know dental assistants.
Okay. Wouldn't want to rough anybody up in Michigan?
No.
Okay. Now, he stayed with you, I think you indicated I'm sorry, can you give me those dates again?
I don't have a calendar. He came out January, the Thursday around the 10th. And he went home on Sunday around the 13th, whatever those correct dates are in 2012.
No, we would like to get a correct calendar so we won't have any issues later about dates.
Well, but you're certain it was Thursday?
I'm positive.
Okay. All right. And you recall specifically how many days he stayed?
He left Sunday morning at 6 o'clock a.m.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Can you redirect?
Yeah, I remember the court take judicial notice of a calendar for January 2012 so that she didn't get the correct
I'm
dates.
looking at it as we speak.
Can you see the calendar behind you?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, can you give me the correct dates for his visit to you out of January 2012?
The 12th through the 15th.
Thank you. And the email that he sent you on January 10th saying, soon you will feel my power, strength, or passion, or whatever you said, that was before he got there.
Correct.
And just so we can have contextually clear, the conversation when you heard him yelling at a handyman, you were physically present hearing him yell.
Yes.
Because he was there in Oregon.
Yes.
The phone conversation when he asked you about roughing somebody up is when he had called you after he had left your physical presence in the state. Correct?
Was yes, the week later.
Okay.
The 18th or 19th.
Okay. And you advised him to go to the police if somebody was harassing you.
I did.
Did he tell you he had went to the police?
No, he said he didn't.
And after his wife's murder, did he ever mention that incident again?
No. I actually mentioned it to him.
And what did he say?
He said, let's just leave you out of this.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step in.
Thank you. Do you want this way? Thank you, sir.
Could you please give your name and spelling to the gentleman right in front of you? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Just pull the microphone to your mouth. Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please tell us your name?
Mary Morey,
Can you spell your last name for us?
Morey.
Thank you. Back in 2011, did you have a place of employment?
Yes.
Where was it?
Eastern Market Antiques.
I'm sorry.
Eastern Market Antiques.
Do you know a person by the name of Joe Gens?
Yes.
When did you meet Mr. Gens?
In the fall of 2011.
Okay. Where did you meet him?
At the St. Vincent retail shop, thrift store in Grosse Pointe.
In Grosse Pointe? Mm-hmm. Did you end up hiring Mr. Gens?
Yes, I did.
For what type of work?
Labor.
At the furniture store in Eastern Market?
Yes.
And how long was he employed there?
He started working for me in approximately September 2011 until January of 2012.
And how many days a week about?
3, 4, sometimes it was just 2, whenever I could, whenever I needed him.
And how did he get downtown to Eastern Market?
I picked him up at the St. Vincent thrift store and brought him downtown.
And that was your common practice?
Yes.
Did you know Mr. Gens to carry large sums of money?
Only on one occasion.
Okay. And when was that?
On January 25th, when I picked him up to take him to the antique store.
Okay, so you picked him up on January 25th, this is 2012?
That's right.
You picked him up on January 25th, 2012 to take him just like normal to work for you?
That's right.
And did you see a large sum of money?
Yes, I did.
Where was it?
In his hand.
Was he showing it off?
Yes, he was.
Did you see about how much it was?
Yes, I did.
How much?
Between $800 and $900.
And you had never seen any where close to that amount of money?
No.
How much again? I'm sorry.
Between $800 and $900.
Had he told you that he was expecting some money?
Yes.
When did he tell you that?
That day, January 25th, and then the following day.
You saw him again on the following day?
Yes, I did.
Well, before we get there, on the 25th, did you stop anywhere between Eastern Market and St. Vincent when you were taking him back there?
Yes.
Where did you stop?
We stopped at a cell phone store on McAnalter Road.
Why did you stop there?
He wanted to purchase a phone.
And did you wait for him?
Yes, I did.
Did he go into the store?
Yes, he did.
Did he come back?
Yes, he did.
Did he have anything with him?
Yes, he did.
What did he have?
He had a new cell phone.
And did you see any money? Did he have any money left over?
He had the remainder of his money, yes.
Before he went in the store, did you know if he had a phone?
He had an old flip-style phone, yes.
And this was a different phone?
Yes.
What kind of phone, if you know?
It was either a BlackBerry or some type of Android phone.
And you said you saw him again on the 26th.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I was volunteering at St. Vincent, so it was my practice to go in there every day. Joe was already there. He was waiting for a package. He told me he was waiting for a package.
To your knowledge, did a package arrive?
I was told it did, yes.
Nothing further.
Cross-exam?
Thank you.
Well, Patrick Webb.
Sir, please give your name to the gentleman seated right here. Sir, please give your name to the gentleman seated right here.
Patrick Donald Webb.
Please raise your right hand, sir. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And please have a seat. There's a microphone close to you. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please tell us your name?
Patrick Donald Webb.
Can you spell your last name for us?
W-E-B-B.
Do you know a person by the name of Robert Bashara?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you see that person in court today?
Yes, I do.
Can you point him out and tell me what he's wearing?
He's the fellow sitting there in the turquoise green and maroon shirt.
For the record, the witnesses identify the person or defendant.
So moved.
When did you meet Mr. Bashara for the first time?
It was back in right around 2009. Met him online through Rachel Gillett,
Okay.
through advertisement I was doing on a party.
Okay. What type of party was this?
This is going to be a BDSM party.
Okay. And was it in person? Was it online? What was the nature of the party?
All initial contact at first was online, talking with Rachel Gillett.
And was the invitation?
Well, I assumed it was Rachel. I'm just saying it's the screen name. I'm sorry.
Okay. And the invitation was an online invitation, correct?
Yeah, it was an advertisement on Yahoo informing people that would be interested in the lifestyle that there was an event going on.
Okay. And this was an in-person event?
Yes, it was.
Did Mr. Bashara attend that in-person event?
Yes, he did.
Was anyone with him?
Rachel?
So is that the first time that you met Rachel?
Yes, sir, it was.
And generally, where was this?
The parties at that time was held at 12710 Wanty Road in Milan. Wanty? W-A-N-T-Y. That was in Milan, Michigan. It was a big frat house I'd set up for the parties.
Was this the first party that you had there?
First BDSM party, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have others?
I had other lifestyle parties, yes, sir.
Did Mr. Bashara attend those?
No, he did not.
Did he attend any other parties?
He attended the BDSM events that we had at that location, yes, sir.
Was was Rachel Gillette always with him?
I can't remember a time when he showed up that Rachel wasn't with him.
About how many parties did he attend at the Wanty Road location?
I would say at least 5 or 6 occasions, at least that many times.
Did you get to? Did you ever talk to Mr. Bashara?
Me and Bob created a rapport, and yeah, we were. He was known in the scene, and I was known in the scene as hosting parties. So yeah, of course, I got to know my guests and got to know Bob and Rachel.
And did you have any nicknames or names that you knew each other through the lifestyle?
Bob was Master Bob. I always preferred to be called Sir Patrick. I mean, I just want a little respect for throwing the parties.
Okay.
But Rachel was known as Rachel at the parties, or others had a nickname of her as Little Princess.
Okay.
Or would refer to her as Little Princess, his Little Princess. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Did there come a time where the house on Wanty Road burned down?
Yes, sir.
And you were looking for another location for these parties?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And was there? Did you have any conversations with Mr. Bashara about that next location?
Yes, we did. We were talking about what am I going to do for parties now that the house on Wanty Road had burnt down. And at the time, I lived on 11 acres, and I had a huge outbuilding behind my house. He said, "Why don't you put a club in the back?" He brought it up, and it's not like I haven't thought about it, but he said, "Why don't you put a club in the back?"
And did he offer any assistance for that?
I said I would, Bob. The problem is that I have the money for everything above the concrete. I don't have the money for the concrete. And he told me that if I had the money for everything above the concrete, that he'd help me with the concrete, and we'd go ahead and put up a club, and I could pay him back over time.
And about how much was that?
This is about $20,000.
Help me out, counsel. How is any of this related to the charges here?
It goes to financial strain, which goes to motive, and also will financial strain, which will go to motive, and will get to marital discord, which also goes to motive.
Financial strain?
Yes. A financial motive.
By this gentleman here club or some kind of facility in the back of this place?
The promise of $20,000 goes to that.
Okay, we haven't gotten to that. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
About how much was the concrete?
The concrete was a total of $30,000.
Okay. And did Mr. Bashara promise to pay for some or all of that?
Yes, he did.
What was the amount he promised to pay?
He told me he would take care of the concrete if I had the money for everything above the concrete. I called him up before I had the concrete poured, told him, are we good to go? He told me yes, we were. I went ahead and wrote checks for the concrete. We went ahead and poured it, and when I called him up and told him I needed the money, he told me he had a renter move out. His wife wasn't cool with it. He was having trouble at home, and so it just wasn't a good time to be able to come up with the money and help me out.
Okay. Eventually, did you start having parties, BDSM parties, in that new location?
Yes, I did.
Did Mr. Bashara attend those parties?
Yes, he did.
Again with Rachel?
He attended with Rachel, Rose, and he had, Rachel and Rose was...
So Rachel and other women?
Yep.
Okay. Did the defendant ever speak to you about his wife?
Through the ongoings of this, he was very concerned of confidentiality, pictures. He had talked to us about his wife. That obviously it wasn't no secret to keep confidentiality at its utmost.
So he was concerned about confidentiality, and did you take that to mean confidential from his wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he ever talk about separating from his wife?
I knew that, there was talk that he was going through a divorce. There was talk that they were separated, and I asked him one time how you get away or be able to disappear on the weekends without the wife, and he just flat out said she doesn't know what I do.
Did he ever say it was cheaper just to get rid of her?
When the detective interviewed me, there was talk like that. But at the time when he said that, or talked about getting rid of her, it was more like a couple of guys having a beer in a bar, talking about troubles at home and what. I didn't put no weight to it at that point in
So when he
time.
said it, you thought it was a joke?
Yes, sir.
But did he say it?
Yeah,
Thank you. Did he ever refer to ties to the mafia?
He told when I got in trouble with the house and was trying to save the house, he told me he had guys that we could possibly get the money from that was in the underworld or the mafia type deal.
Did he ever say that one of his neighbors was in the mafia?
Yes, he did.
Did he get right?
Not even. We had a disagreement. He wanted me to turn the music down so he could sleep. And my parties run quite late, and I don't.
At this point, I can't figure out what the relevance of this is.
I don't see the relevance of this thing.
He got upset I wouldn't turn the music down.
Hold on, sir.
Okay.
In late December of 2011, did you have a conversation with the defendant about money again, where he referenced coming into money soon?
Yes, I was talking to him. He was working with me, trying to help me save the house because it was a place that we all enjoyed. Anyway, I was asking him if he could help me come up with the money, and he said he could in a couple of months, but he couldn't right now. He'd be coming into some money in a couple of months.
You familiar with the reformer creek
Yes, sir.
that wasn't paid for?
Excuse me?
Yes. Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Questions, sir?
Nothing, Judge.
Sir, you said that the defendant told you he would be coming into money in a couple of months. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
When did he tell you this?
This has been in November, early December
November, early December of 2011.
11.
Thank you. Questions based on my question?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Judge, I believe we're out of witnesses for the day. We have 4 or 5 possibly tomorrow. We're whittling them off as I speak.
Looks like we should probably be able to wrap this up.
I think so. My only concern is one of locale. If we're going to be here or on 502, I'm not really sure. We'll stay in contact with if I hear anything from the court, we'll stay in contact with the defense, and we'll just try to keep the court advised of what we do.
Somebody just let me know what it is.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Court will be in recess till tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock a.m. Probably take my road. Smoke. Is it as hot down there as it is up here? You guys warm?
It's hotter this afternoon.
No, but I hear it's nice and cool in 36 district court.
We're not gonna let that go, are you?
Where we used to do exams.
I thought that's where we... I mean, why did it change?
Just do it.